A24 horror movie directed by Danny and Michael Filippo, two big-time YouTubers from Australia in their directorial debut. This movie revolves around this young girl named Mia. She's a high school student who's still dealing with the loss of her mom. Her mom's been dead for about a couple years. She's been coping with that, grieving that. One night she and her friend get invited to this party where the new wave that's going on right now is people hold hands with this sort of mannequin hand that when you do it, when you hold it and you say, "Talk to me," you get possessed by spirits. You do it for like 90 seconds, you get like an amazing outer body experience, almost an incredible just sort of high where you just get completely taken over, and when it's done, you're just sitting there like, holy shit, that was fucking awesome. However, if you go any longer than 90 seconds holding this hand, the spirits that possess you end up sticking around. And the more and more that Mia experiments with this hand and talks to this hand, she quickly realizes that these things that have possessed her, that she's been speaking with, are here to do some very evil, messed up shit, not just to her, but to the people she cares about. In the wake of movies like Barbie and Oppenheimer, this movie has quietly been picking up a lot of steam. You know, it's been getting a lot of buzz. Some people have really been enjoying it. It's been spreading through word of mouth and word of the internet quite a bit. I saw the trailer for this movie a few times. I thought the trailer looked interesting, but what I think I was most interested about this movie was just seeing Danny and Michael Filippo in a directorial debut. Now, I'm not a huge fan of these guys. I don't really know their YouTube channel. I know they're known for making a lot of action, comedy, sort of short films on their YouTube channel, but when it comes to horror movies, I'm always the most interested in seeing anyone make their directorial debut with that genre, because I really believe horror is the perfect genre to make a filmmaking debut with. I mean, if you want to make a great horror movie, you don't need a big budget, you don't need an all-star cast, you don't need an amazing script. You just need to have great execution. And A24 is well known for their low-budget movies, especially with horror, so I thought this could lead to something special. After watching Talk to Me, I gotta tell you guys right now, this might be the best and certainly most original horror movie I have seen since the first Quiet Place. This movie is insane. Let's just get right into it. This movie is really disturbing, is very scary, and it does everything a horror movie has to do right. I think I've said before, horror movies, you can very quickly tell how good or how bad they're going to be depending on how the opening scene affects you. If the opening scene shocks you or scares you or disturbs you, it's probably going to be really good. If it does neither of those things, it's probably going to suck. The opening scene right out the gate tells you just about everything you need to suspect with this movie. The kind of vibe it's going to have, the kind of setting it's going to be, and right out the gate, something crazy happens that you weren't exactly suspecting, and it just leaves you with your jaw on the floor. It is a little bit one of those like, holy shit, this is what we're in for? Buckle up. And what I appreciate with the horror element of this movie is it does have its very original concept surrounding a very familiar storyline. You know, we've seen movies involving demons and spirits that just take possession of people and make people do some really messed up shit, but the way they were able to sort of modernize it in a way that you could see high school students getting into, or at least a younger generation getting into, it made sense. In a way, I was talking about this quite a bit. This movie, while it is a horror movie, it really makes you look deep into what people do when they're going through grief and despair, and in some ways, what addiction is like. Like, you try something really sketchy and dangerous, but you get an amazing high and feeling from it that it kind of has you going back and chasing it because it messes with your mind and it makes you think you have to keep doing it to feel good and to feel peace. Little do you know, the more and more you toy with this dangerous stuff, the more and more you are putting your life at risk and you're putting others at risk. I don't know if that's the metaphor that you were supposed to take away from this movie, but it's the one that I took away from it. And it made me appreciate the movie a lot more because of that. Also, yeah, is this movie disturbing? Oh, absolutely yes. I mean, it is scary, it is intense, and what I really appreciate that this movie does is it doesn't rely on jump scares. How this movie scares you is how I feel horror movies should scare you, because it's the most effective way. It relies on some really disturbing imagery, some really creepy moments, the kind that just really hold the tension for as long as it can, and it just leaves you sitting there like, okay, when is something gonna happen? It is not a predictable horror movie in the slightest. There are so many moments that feel really intense, feel really terrifying, and you just don't know when it's going to let up. Like you're almost waiting for a scene in bright light just so you can get that sort of, you know, feeling of relief that you're looking for in horror movies. And getting to the act of this movie, everyone across the board does a really good job, but I really want to touch on Sophie Wilde as the lead in this role, as the character Mia. She's excellent in this movie. I mean, you completely buy into her as this damaged, kind of broken girl that's still coping with the loss behind her mom and trying to understand why her mom's not in her life anymore, just really trying to get past it. She hasn't really been able to. She's trying to find comfort in her really close friends. I mean, she's clearly a damaged character, and it makes you care about her. So much so that when she is really toying with this hand, you're not really pulling the whole like, oh, you fucking idiot. You're kind of, in a way, you feel bad for her. Like, you care about her character. You want to see her go through this. You don't want to see this happen to her. And so when she's going into this really messed up stuff and she keeps toying with this hand when she's not supposed to be, it just leaves you with like that empty, hopeless feeling that leaves you with a lot of, I don't know, hopelessness. I don't know. I'm kind of alluding to what I was saying earlier, but it leaves you scared for her. It's the acting in her, especially her, but in really all these people, when they grab that hand and they get possessed and they start saying some really messed up shit, they start saying a bunch of stuff rapidly, and the music's really kicking in, and their eyes are just black. It makes for some really intense scenes, some really creepy moments, some really just weird kind of moments too that just kind of make you feel a little uncomfortable. Also, this movie's a lot more violent than I thought it was going to be. I mean, I thought it would just be mostly like a possession kind of movie where they're just trying to free themselves of these demons that are coming after them. But no, this movie had some really bloody moments that just shake you. When you watch it, you don't feel like anyone is safe. You feel like everyone's at risk, and you're just imagining yourself in your head. It's like, they're not gonna kill. Oh, okay, they might just kill that person. There is just so much scenery in this movie that just stays with you the whole time. Also, I'm gonna say this right now, I won't get into spoilers, but I'm gonna say this. I think this movie has one of the best endings I have ever seen from a horror movie. I mean, ever. Like, the way the story carries out, the things that certain characters go through, you kind of imagine in your head, like, okay, I think the movie's going to end this way. Like, this is going to happen. But when you get to that final moment, that final scene, that final shot, and everything just clicks with you, it just leaves you sitting there like, oh, holy shit. And you walk out of the movie like, I can't think of an ending more perfect than that. That is just, that's cherry on top shit right there. As far as flaws in the movie go, I guess there are some unanswered questions with some certain storylines and situations that happen in the movie, but I mean, I don't know. You could just leave that as interpretation, I suppose, but I don't know, not so much in the sense where, like, you know, you're walking out and you just feel unfulfilled. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I'm trying to find stuff here, but it's clearly nitpicking stuff. So all in all, talk to me. This movie was excellent. The entire cast in this movie does a really good job. Some fantastic acting from these kid actors and these teen actors. Sophie Wilde, great job. This movie is unbelievably intense and disturbing and scary. I mean, there are moments I am just literally just sitting there trying to block disturbing imagery out of my head and just be like, oh my gosh, I don't feel good right now. It deals with a theme we've seen in horror movies many, many times before, but it takes it on in such an original premise. The direction of this movie is fantastic. I mean, Danny and Michael Filippo, I would have never assumed this was their directorial debut. You would think they were doing this for years. This movie never felt predictable in the slightest. You never knew how scenes were going to unfold, how storylines would unfold. You were just sitting there on the edge of your seat the whole time. I was anyway. And in the end, Danny and Michael Filippo, I can't wait to see what these guys do next. In fact, we're already hearing, because this movie has been as successful as it's been, a Talk to Me sequel is already in the works. And I'm fine with that. I would be very intrigued to see what they could do going forward. Safe to say A24 could have, I believe anyway, its first legitimate horror franchise on its hands. And that's saying something. So that's all I gotta say, guys. Thank you so much for watching my video. And as always, don't forget to leave a comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you all next time.